Wargaming's content machine is driving nuts right now, because we not only get one new tank or two new tanks to the super test, no, we get 3 new tanks, and one of which being, well, not really waited for, but a tank or a tank line a lot of people actually wanted. And I think a lot of you already are thinking, Nani? Because we finally got the first glimpse of the new Japanese tank destroyer line, coming to World of Tanks PC, with the Type 5 Hoto being the first of the bunch. This one being a premium tank on tier 8. And I think it already shows pretty clearly where this line is going to go. Big guns, good frontal armor, decent mobility, shitty side armor. That's just how it is. And it is the same when you look at the console players, not console players, the blitz players, as well as some historical tanks like the Houri production, being also big frontal armor, mess side armor, big gun. So the Type 5 Hoto, what has he to offer for us? He has a 500 alpha gun with 570 alpha on premium rounds and 630 on HE. The standard rounds have a 265mm of penetration, RIP. The premium rounds are semi-armor piercing with only 230mm of pen, but as already mentioned, 570 alpha. And add to that a 60mm of HE. The reload time is pretty long with 12.4 seconds. However, we have an aim time of 2.3 and a decent accuracy of 0.34. Now, if we calculate up those base DPMs, we get 2419 standard DPM and 2758 gold DPM, which is pretty strong. Like, for example, here the Stridswan S1 is known to not be bad when it comes in the DPM department. Without a crew and without equipment, we get a base DPM of 2393, which is just shy of almost 20 to what the other has. Well, not almost 20, a little bit more than 20. Whatever. If you now put in, as you know, it takes quite some time to make this switch up, but if you take in a rammer as well as Wentz, we can boost this up to already 2700 DPM. We could also add a crew and rations, and then we will have pretty decent DPM for a tier 8 tank destroyer. And again, that is without premium rounds, because with premium rounds, you're probably going to go into the 3000, 3200 DPM range. And that is pretty strong for a vehicle like this. Add to that 7 degrees of gun depression, that's pretty good. Mobility wise, 40 kph top, 18 in reverse. I love the 18 in reverse. That's always something I like, because sometimes I guess the French person in me comes out, parce que je suis Swiss, you know, and we're French person like to go in retreat, you know, with French flag, white, whatever. Jokes aside, 750 horsepower, 16.7 HP per ton, that is pretty good. And it's also fairly interesting when you compare it, for example, to the Scorpion G, which has almost identical HP per ton ratio. So we can expect decent or similar mobility to the Scorpion G, except when it comes to top speeds, where obviously the Hoto is not going to be good at. 48 degrees of traverse, that is pretty decent. We can live with that. Now, I already told you that those tanks will most likely be balls to the walls frontal tank destroyers. 1400 hit points. That is a lot. We can live with that. Add to that 200mm of frontal armor, most likely on the angled front plate, and 30mm in the side and in the rear, which is a little bit But yeah, let's have a look at those pictures right here, or we don't. I prepared it. Let's try it with this one. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. This is the same picture you've probably seen before, and you can see that this looks pretty thick right here. So 200mm armor plate. And then we have this plate up here, which I assume, I guess it will be around 215mm of armor. It's not good. 215, almost flat. Yeah. You know, that's just 50mm more than what the Ferdinand has. And the Ferdinand is known to not have good armor. However, the main thing about this is that you obviously have 7 degrees of gun depression. So you could probably get around 250mm of effective armor. if I just guesstimate it, but you can't really side scrape because, at least on paper, it has 30 millimeters of armor, and as you can see, it looks kind of weak around here just from the modeling. As you can see, here we have this armor plate. Obviously, new tanks have to have a gun on the back, so it does have a gun on the back, but you can see those plates are very, very thin, so we have only 30 millimeters of armor there. But then again, if you are able to have pretty decent frontal armor, which can bounce most or reliably AP or standard rounds, as well as some premium rounds of same tiered opponents, I think it is fine. And again, don't forget, it probably has around 3000 DPM when it comes with premium rounds and proper crew and proper setup. And that is pretty good, because 230 millimeters of base pen on the premium rounds is weighted enough to mostly shoot through weak spots of the enemies. It also then just depends how decent the protection will be on this vehicle, or excuse me, rather the gun accuracy on this vehicle on the move, and how it interlocks with the aim time. We have 6 crew members, which is a lot, but then again, it's pretty okay, as it allows you to have lots of different crew skills without having to just put every single crew skill on 2 crew members. 380 meters of through range, that is fine. Overall, it looks like a monstrosity. It's literally, I don't know. It looks a little bit like a love child of a Jagdtiger. I guess never nuke a Jagdtiger twice. That's what happened here. Regardless, I would say let's move on to the German Kampfpanzer III Projekt 07 HK. Might have also been a little bit exaggerated how I said that in German. In any case, if you want to break down the Kampfpanzer III, this thing is like the Kunze-Panzer. It has a siege mode, which it loses DPM when it actually wants to go into siege mode, which is kinda whack. But yeah, 320 alpha, 270 if you round up APCR pen, 320 heat pen, actually quite the same values as what the Kunze has, except for the heat, which is higher with 20 millimeters, and it has Hesh with 420 alpha and 120 pen, which is pretty pug. This doesn't have the Kunze, and I always like Hesh. Now, this vehicle has 9 degrees of gun depression from the gate onwards, because as you can see, if we go a little bit back, this gun can elevate a little bit as it is not fully fixed in the casemate. There are some angles right here which it allows you to move up and down this gun. However, in normal mode, where you only have 3 degrees of gun depression, literally Russian moment, you have 7 seconds reload time, which is fairly okay. It gives us a base DPM of 2742, which is as much as the gold DPM of the Hoto. 2.7 seconds aim time is a little bit of yikes, and 0.3 seconds of accuracy is a little bit of yikes. And again, 3 degrees of gun depression is a little bit of yikes. If we go into the siege mode, which takes 3 seconds by the way, for both modes, which is really long, you only have 10 seconds of reload time, giving us a DPM of 1920. And that is not good. You have 1.5 seconds aim time, which is great, 0.25 seconds aim time as accuracy, which is great. And another cool thing is you don't really lose much of your reverse, your Heidi mobility. 65 kph top speed and 18 in reverse in normal mode, and 20 kph top speed and 18 kph in reverse. That's really good, and we have almost 23.5 HP per ton ratio. That is really good actually. So the Projekt 07 HK will be a really speedy boy. Plus it is flat, so it probably has pretty good camouflage added to that. Additionally, if you go in the siege mode, you get an additional 9 degrees of gun depression. So you top it out at 12 degrees, and that is, in my opinion, a very good value. I do believe, I'm not entirely sure though, but I think the Kunze-Panzer does not gain this much of gun depression. However, I'm not 100% certain. Oh no, never mind, I said nothing. It goes up to 15 degrees. Okay, Kunze-Panzer is the undisputed king in that regard. While we only get 12 degrees, but then again, 12 degrees is more than enough in my opinion. Compared to the Stridsvagn 103B, which has 11 degrees. So a little bit better right there. But the weirdness doesn't just stop there. Yes, you need to basically constantly switch between those modes to get a little bit more DPM. You don't just want to stay in your bad DPM, but you basically need 6 seconds to switch between those spots, while the real time in the quick mode is 7 seconds. So you don't have that much of, how should I say, leeway. However, I did the same thing in the Kunstpanzer while I was free marking it. If you are standing still and you are able to abuse your DPM, you have to change in between those modes. Otherwise, you're either going to miss way too many shots or you just have no DPM whatsoever. The thing is about the Kampfpanzer 3, it has not good hit points, but apparently 45mm of armor frontally. And if we look at this picture right here, it looks fairly uniform. If this is the 45mm plate and not the lower plate, which probably will be where the fuel tanks are, come usually with such vehicles, you might have here a weak spot. But if this thing has 45mm of upper front plate armor, you can take your calculators out, you know, and go here, times 45 times 3, and you get 135mm of caliber size. That's a pretty big caliber. And the fun part is, usually most tier 9 mediums and heavy tanks do live in between the 105 to 130mm caliber range. Which means, technically, the Kampfpanzer 03, if it is hull down, will be impenetrable if you're not shooting heat rounds or bigger than 145. So only really the ISU with 152mm of armor, millimeters of caliber, and stuff like this can reliably penetrate your upper front plate if it is homogeneous. Side armor 30mm, so oof, you can get arted killed, you can get easily EBR'd, you know, and overmatched by basically anything which is bigger than 90mm. But the fact that theoretically you can play with this thing incredibly aggressive if you're hull down, and they basically cannot do anything, gives an additional very interesting gameplay mechanic. Like, that is weird, and I like it. Also, can we talk about how cool it would be? We would be able to use those coaxial 20mm gun with, like, being, I don't know, let's take a 20mm gun in the game. What uses 20mm? I guess so. German. I guess this one uses a 20mm. Yeah, like the 20mm flak. I don't know, like 39mm of penetration would be enough to shoot out, you know, tracks or, I don't know, EBRs. Would be cool, but will not happen in most World of Tanks, most likely. But yeah, that thing is kind of cool. One thing I actually don't like about this thing is this thing right here. Look at how exposed this gun bridge is. How is it getting reloaded? Does the loader just peekaboo out of this hole right here? Or do we have a proper arm right here, which would be an autoloader? Obviously, it's not going to be properly implemented into World of Tanks, regardless. But, not gonna lie, I would love to have more animations on the tanks itself. It's pure eye candy, but World of Tanks does look fairly good, and you don't really need to make the tank game look worse to have an advantage like you do in War Thunder. So it would be cool to have like the flap go up and then the arm comes like flap goes down and it is reloaded. Same with the shell getting ejected. Same goes for the Stridswan 103. I would love to see that. Just at the end of a game, like a massive pile of shells in the background of the tank, because constantly like the shell ejection. But yeah, that's just a little bit of a tangent about modeling in World of Tanks. In the end, the tank will also not be a good crew trainer because it only has a commander, driver, and a radio operator, and 350 meters of view range, meaning that you will most likely have to rock optics. So this tank will mostly be used with either aiming unit and rammer and optics, or it's not optics, binoculars, or binoculars, vents, and aiming unit. That is what I think will most likely happen for this thing. Maybe even Camonet, but I don't think so. So, and last but not least, well, it is the last one, not the least one. We have the BZ58-2, and I generally just quickly want to skip over it, because you might have already seen it. We go quickly into the tech tree yet again, go to Polska Gurumo, and look at this little fella right here. Slap, not the big engine, I wanted to put this, and this on it, and let me see. It's the same turret. It's also almost the same gun, however, the 50 TP gun has 560 alpha, not 520. Like, I don't know what to say about this thing. It's boring. Like, I guess it's the same with the WZ-111-2. There was, I think, also another vehicle which recently has been added to the Super Test, which is just slap 2 vehicles together for the Chinese exclusive server. Because this thing, as far as I'm aware, is Chinese exclusive. And as you can see, 140 turret with the 140 gun and the 113 hull. So boring. So freaking boring. Although the BZ-58-2 does not have a copy-paste hull, it's something more unique, new, but it's very weak. 70mm of armor in the front and 70 in the back. I don't know. It actually even looks a little bit like a chieftain hull, like a proper chieftain hull, not the reward vehicle chieftain. But I don't know what to say. It has bad DPM, penetration 250, 303 with AP and APCR is meh. Reload is, as mentioned, insanely long. We have a DPM of base of 1813. Long aim time, bad accuracy, at least 8 degrees of gun depression. Bad mobility, 13 HP per tone ratio, 38 kilometers per hour top speed, 17 in reverse, 2000 hit points. Hey, it's a HP Pinata, I guess, and it's boring. Like, I personally didn't really like playing the 50 TP. I have to be completely honest there. It's just not my cup of tea of tank, which I want to play. But like, I don't know. Like, I did play it, by the way. Like, I didn't just skip through it. I played 90 games and then had 2,600 DPG, which is not good anymore, but it's something, you know. If this thing had 3-3 and this thing, I don't know. It had the first gun mark on it, at least. It's I don't know. Why? Why is it a thing? That's what I don't understand. Just look at it. It does look a little bit like a chieftain hull, I guess, but it will be weak as shit. Only if you're going full hull down, you will probably be able to properly bounce some stuff. But I don't know what is going to happen with this vehicle. Yeah, what am I supposed to say? It's literally a resident sleeper. And with that, I think it is best we just cut the video. Not much else to say about this thing. Generally, not much else to say about this thing. But I have other things I'm able to say or talk about. And that is a little bit, I guess, a little bit of a story right here. But the thing is, at the moment, I have a lot of things to do with university. I'm working on my last subject as well as my bachelor thesis. So, and now we start to get into the hot phase. On the 16th of December, we have the last exam. And our last midterm before we have the main exams, and I want to finish my bachelor thesis on the 23rd, so I have 1 week of proofreading before I have to send it on the 2nd of January. So I'm a little bit on a tight schedule at the moment. Adding to that, it's also I'm a little bit burned out of doing videos in World of Tanks in general. Not that I don't dislike playing World of Tanks, I actually really recently liked playing the game and having a lot of fun in in games in general, like when I was streaming Thursday and Friday morning, but in German. It's just like at the moment I just have other things which are more prominent in my head. So I'm sorry for that, and I'm sorry that this video might have been a little bit whack. In any case, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you as my great community on another video sooner or later. Cheers!